What does it mean to perform mathematics or to philosophize? To think critically or to create art? What these abilities have in common is they can only be accomplished by us humans. It is what separates us from all other living species as we know it. But there's another ability that makes us unique, and that is willpower. It enables us to grow and to push our boundaries. Where other mammals seem to give into their cravings, we can choose not to. Some scholars even deny its existence, yet others say it's more important than IQ or self-esteem. According to a 2016 report, CNBC called willpower the single most effective habit to develop if you want to become successful. But first, in order to grasp the essence of willpower, we first must know what it is and why it is so important. Then we can learn what recent scientific discoveries have been made about willpower. Finally, we'll find out what we can do to develop our most important human quality. Because according to health psychologist and author Kelly McGonigal, lack of willpower is a universal problem that everyone struggles with. So let's begin our journey of self-improvement by finding out what is willpower and why it's so important. According to a 2012 article by the American Psychological Association, willpower is the ability to resist short-term temptations in order to meet long-term goals. Now, the definition is widely known, but why is it so important? Well, according to a 2011 report by the National Academy of Sciences, willpower is a #1 determining factor for personal success. The report included the details of a long, drawn-out experiment where a group of psychologists tracked the lives of 1,000 children from birth to age 32. Without surprise, they found the individuals who displayed more self-control had better health, financial stability, and fulfilling relationships. Whereas the individuals who displayed weaker self-control were likely to be sicker, end up in lower-paying jobs, or to be in trouble with the law. Now, this was not the first experiment of its kind. It was a replication of another experiment called the marshmallow test. And according to a 2015 book, The Marshmallow Test, higher levels of self-control in children can predict adult success. This experiment started almost 50 years ago at the Stanford University Preschool, when Walter Mischel gave preschoolers the choice between eating a marshmallow now or waiting a short time for 2 marshmallows. What is interesting is he was able to track the lives of these 5-year-olds into their 50s, and he found the longer these children held out for a greater payout, the more successful they were throughout their lives. So now that we know why willpower is important, we can find out what recent scientific discoveries have been made about it. Now, over the last several decades, willpower has been a popular focus in psychology. One of the more recent theories it has produced is called ego depletion by Roy Baumeister. And in his 2011 publication, Willpower, Rediscovering the Greatest Human Strength, ego depletion is the theory that willpower is a finite resource which acts like a muscle that can get tired or be strengthened. Additionally, he found that maintaining focus, suppressing emotions, controlling impulses, and making decisions all share from the same mental energy resource. He made his discovery by conducting a series of experiments on a group of students that had to exert some form of self-control, while another group of students didn't have to exert any self-control. He then gave each student a puzzle to solve. But unbeknownst to the student, this was an unsolvable puzzle. The result was the students that didn't have to exert any self-control were able to persist on this unsolvable puzzle on average 20 minutes, whereas the willpower fatigue students were only able to manage 8 minutes on this unsolvable puzzle. Interesting to note, he also had some of the students make decisions before attempting to solve this puzzle. And interestingly, the result was the same. That is, it drained their willpower into what Baumeister called, decision fatigue. So for example, say that you use your willpower to maintain focus on homework or to make decisions while shopping. You'll have less of this mental energy resource for that workout that you have planned at the end of the day. This theory of the concept of ego depletion is so compelling that even President Barack Obama uses it, as he only has 2 colors of suits to choose from, because he said he doesn't want to waste his energy making minor decisions. But recently, the theory of ego depletion has come under attack. According to a 2016 report by Live Science, a group of psychologists at Curtin University were not able to replicate the same results that Baumeister found in his experiments. They used a different set of experimental conditions, but with the same protocols, and found no evidence that the theory of ego depletion exists. On the other hand, Live Science writes in the same article that experts still agree that people do in fact run out of willpower, but the theory of ego depletion seems more complicated than previously thought. Walter Mischel is one of the experts that believes that ego depletion exists, and says hundreds of other experiments support the theory, but indicate that motivation plays a key role in the amount of willpower people can exert. Carol Dewecks' research at Stanford University supports this. According to a 2008 publication, Mindset, by Carol Dweck, people who believe they have endless amounts of energy can persist on strenuous tasks without depleting willpower, whereas others who believe their energy is limited show signs of diminished self-control in similar situations. So I guess Henry Ford was correct when he said, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. So now that we learned what recent scientific discoveries have made about willpower, we can find out what we can do to develop it. Now we know what everyone must be thinking. Willpower seems to be a gift you're born with. You either have it or you don't. Originally, this was a widely accepted belief, but because of further development in MRI technology over the last several decades, neuroscience has discovered the plasticity of the brain and how learning changes its composition. What this means is we can further develop our willpower by performing certain exercises. Mischel's lifelong research has produced a very effective method to developing willpower. He calls if-then, which is short for, if I get this sudden impulse, then I will give this pre-planned response. To use if-then, you first must identify an impulse that you want to get rid of. Second, you must pre-plan a response you will give once a sudden impulse emerges. Finding it to be effective, the counter-response must be repeatedly practiced as if the impulse was actually occurring. Say, for example, you have a problem with interrupting homework by going to Facebook. If this impulse emerges, a response could be to take deep breaths while saying aloud that your goals are more important than likes on Facebook. The second way to increase your willpower is through meditation. And according to McGonigal, meditation is the single most effective way to turn your brain into what she calls a fine-tuned self-awareness machine. Brain scans have shown that meditation increases the gray matter in your prefrontal cortex, making it bigger and better connected. And the prefrontal cortex is responsible for the prefrontal cortex is responsible for self-awareness. And more self-awareness increases a wide variety of self-control skills that includes focus, impulse control, and stress management. The third way to increase your willpower is to not track your success. Now this may seem counterintuitive, because looking back on a string of successes will usually make you feel good about yourself. But again, according to McGonigal, looking back with self-gratification increases the likelihood to revert back to unwanted behavior. So if you've been successful at suppressing a negative impulse or practicing a productive habit, don't look back with self-gratification. Now you're probably wondering, how can I possibly control my thoughts? But there is an answer for this too. When you reflect on success, think of why you made the change, and this should help you the negative emotion that caused you to make the change. So to conclude, we first found out how the marshmallow test on children found evidence that willpower is the most important habit to helping you live a happy and healthy life. We next found out that willpower might be a finite resource, but if we're properly motivated, we can find endless amounts of energy to push forward. Finally, we know if we want to develop our willpower, we can practice the if-then strategy, we can regularly meditate, and not give ourselves a license to sin by looking back with self-gratification. So what makes us different from any other species is we have a highly developed prefrontal cortex. It gives us the ability that other mammals do not have, notably to resist short-term temptations in order to meet our long-term goals. It gives us the ability to influence our future by controlling our impulses. Each and every one of us has this ability. Each and every one of us can influence our success.